Hi there and welcome. I am Jordan, and in this video we'll be talking all about episiotomies, what they are, what they feel like when you have one unmedicated, so without an epidural, and a bit of the recent past surrounding episiotomies. So if you don't already know what an episiotomy is, it is when your provider gives you a cut at your vaginal opening to help expand the space to allow your baby to come through. Most providers do a small cut, but if they need to do other interventions, maybe forceps or vacuum delivery, or maybe baby stuck the wrong way, they may give you a larger cut. And the idea behind giving someone an episiotomy is one, for medical intervention, and then also to prevent tearing. And so in the recent past, providers would often give a routine episiotomy. So they are giving episiotomies to like most women with the thought that they were preventing tearing, and believing that when a tear was like zigzag, like a normal tear, would not heal as good as a straight cut. But that has recently been proven wrong. A straight cut does not heal as easily as if you were to tear naturally. So with that said, it may make you wonder if some providers were doing routine episiotomies out of convenience for themselves. Maybe they were thinking they were controlling like the tear, or were they just trying to speed up delivery for themselves? I don't know, but I do know that routine episiotomies are not typically a thing anymore. There may be a few providers that still hold on to that practice, but mostly it is not acceptable, and it's really just for when a episiotomy is needed to either help open the space for a baby to come through, or in the case of medical interventions. If you have seen my previous video on my first delivery, I did have an episiotomy. I had a home birth, and so I had no epidural, and this was actually one of my biggest fears, was what would it be like either tearing or having an episiotomy without an epidural. So that's why I wanted to make this video and just share my experience and what it felt like actually having an episiotomy, because I was so super scared. It would like keep me up sometimes at night wondering like, what is that going to feel like? I'm super scared. Going into it, I don't know if you know, but I have lichen sclerosis. And so my midwife and I talked extensively about doing an episiotomy if my scars were opening up, or if she felt that I really needed one. And so we did choose to do an episiotomy in my first, but we did not do it in my second. So I'll just share my experience with an episiotomy and what it felt like. My midwife actually gave me 2 episiotomies in my first delivery. The first one, she did it at the very most intense part of my contraction, and that's when baby was obviously crowning, and I did not feel it at all. She did the episiotomy to the side and at an angle, and it did not actually open my space like she had thought it would. And so she, in that same contraction, did a second episiotomy down, and that was at the end of my contraction, and I did feel that, and it wasn't as horrible as I thought it would be. It was just like, and it wasn't as horrible as I had thought it would be. It was just like a sharp, like, I don't know, just like how if you like cut your finger with the scissors, it felt the exact same. I think my best thing I could compare it to is like the skin on your hand, like between your finger and your thumb, like right here. There's not like a lot of nerve endings right there. If there was like a snip right there, it felt what I think would be the same as it did having an episiotomy while giving birth. And it really was not that big of a deal. Mine did tear to a 2nd degree tear, and I didn't really feel like the extended tear after the episiotomy. I just know when she gave me that second episiotomy, I was like, oh, and I yelled her name, and then it was over. It was not a big deal. So in my opinion, it is nothing to keep you up at night. I hope that it's helpful, me sharing my experience and what it feels like to have an episiotomy. One other thing I would like to share about my experience with having an episiotomy, and after working with my pelvic floor therapist to work through that scar tissue from those sites where I did have the incision, when a provider does the episiotomy to the side and like at an angle like my first one was, there is more nerve endings there. And so for me, that spot was very tender for a long time, and I really had to work through that scar tissue, just so it kind of like smarted whenever like I move a certain way or be touched a certain way. So really, providers should, and this is a little controversial, but should be cutting down if they have to do it. But there's the fear there. I know that if they cut down, then it is more likely to go to like 3rd degree or 4th degree tear, but there is less nerve endings in that area. And so if they do the incision down, it will not bother you as much. Like that part of me that was healing did not bother me nearly as much as the sideways cut. So that is all I have for you today. I hope this video helped you not be fearful of episiotomies and just share a little bit of what they are and a little history on them. I hope you have a great day. Thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye.